know that we all have a story, and our story determines everything in our lives. We solve our everyday problems based upon the way we think of ourselves. Some of them are big problems, some of them are small problems. Some of them are problems that govern the planet. Some of them are the logistics of getting our kids from point A to point B when traffic won't let us. The way we solve those problems is based upon our story. Every relationship we've ever had in our lives is based upon the way we think about ourselves, the way we heal our bodies, the way we choose our politics, the policies that we embrace in our society, all based on our story. And all of a sudden you begin to see our story. What could be more important? It's not that not only is it not fluff and woo-woo, it is front and center for us right now because we're in a global pandemic to varying degrees and for varying reasons. And we are forced to live our lives differently, to think of ourselves differently, to solve our problems differently, because what we did before simply isn't working for us. And the good news here is that rather than struggle to cling to an old idea and an old story that served us in another time in our lives, but is no longer serving us, rather than clinging to that, we can let it gracefully pass and embrace the new human story that's emerging. And there is a new story. It is a beautiful story of hope and possibility, of self-empowerment and self-regulation of our biology. And it's a very, very different way to think. So what I want to say right now, I know that we all know there's a whole lot going on that we know about. There's a whole lot going on that's not so obvious. It's under the scenes or behind the scenes and underlying what we see. But I think it's no secret that there is a battle that's unfolding in our lives. There's a battle for our thoughts. We all know that. There's a battle for our thoughts playing out in mainstream media, in the curricula, in our classrooms. There's a battle for our beliefs. Who are we? Where do we come from? What do we think about 5G? What do we think about climate change? What do we think about chemtrails? There's a battle for all of that, about UFOs and aliens in the skies. There's a battle for our bodies and what it takes to be healthy and what it takes for our babies when they come out of the womb. What do our babies need to be healthy in this world? There's a battle for that. But all of that is the noise. It's the distraction. It's the diversion for an even deeper battle that very few people are talking about. And Leah, Monica, this is what I want to talk about right now. It's a battle for our very humanness. Our very humanness is on the line right now because technology is advancing so quickly within the context of our story. The technology is being imposed upon our biology. The thinking is, and this is only possible because of an underlying thinking that's been around for over 100 years. The thinking is that, that the human body is flawed in its existence, specifically, and that carbon-based life in general is a flawed form of life. And because the thinking says that we are flawed in our existence, that is the justification to create technology outside of our bodies to replace the natural biology that we have within our bodies. And here's the catch. Here's the catch. What the science shows us is that when we begin to replace our neurons and the chemicals in our blood and the crystalline in our bone with artificial materials and components and computer chips and wires, when we begin to make those replacements, our natural biology begins to atrophy. Now, we all know this because we use the adage all the time, use it or lose it. I mean, there's a lot of ways to use that adage, and this is one of them. So what happens is we begin replacing, I'm just going to give an example. We now have the technology to put computer chips into the human brain, to implant them and actually take the dendrites from the neurons and put them into ports on this chip so that we communicate directly with a computer with no keyboard and with no physical connection, no cables. Now, some people say, man, that's cool, or young people say, that's sweet. But here's the thing. Those chips mimic a capability that we already have, that very few people really are aware of, that we only discovered in 2004. We have specialized neurons that have the ability to see something in the world, whether it's on a computer screen, or get this, or whether it's in our mind. Those neurons don't know the difference between seeing and having the experience. So if those neurons, let's take healing, if those neurons are witnessing the healing of a human body, either in a movie or a film or a picture or in the vision of our mind, I'm going to channel. Lee, you're a channel, so I'm going to channel one of those neurons just for a minute. So here's the neuron. The neuron says, I'm seeing a healing. Oh, I better get with the program and start creating the chemicals in my body so I can support the healing that I am seeing, because I don't know the difference between witnessing and living what's happening. All right, so we have those neurons, and they were just beginning to understand what they mean and how powerful they are and how they can be used. And that's one example. We just discovered a new class of stem cells that are with us until we take our last breath on this planet. When I was in school, I was taught we get stem cells at birth and they atrophy over life, and pretty soon you don't have access to your stem cells. We're just beginning to understand that is not necessarily the case. So I'm not against technology, and I'm not advocating that we do one thing or another. What I'm saying very clearly is this: we are at a critical crossroad in our evolution, the crossroad where biology and technology are coming together. It's going to happen. We can't stop it, but we can guide and direct where this is going. And the question is, how much of ourselves do we give away to the technology? How much of ourselves do we compromise? How much of our humanness are we willing to compromise to the technology? Because once it atrophies in our lifetime, the next generation, the body says, oh, you know, that's a vestige from another time. We don't need to do that anymore. And pretty soon we lose the very essence of what gives us our humanness, our ability to emote, our ability to reproduce through intimate human relationships, our ability to create within us a robust immune response is a beautiful example. All of these things begin to atrophy, and we become very, very different species. So the question is, how much of ourselves do we want to give away? The answer is that we cannot answer that question until we know who we are, until we know what we're giving away. And that's the invitation to embrace the new human story, to embrace the new discoveries of the new science that are overturning 150 years of the limitations that we have been taught to accept in the past. And I think it would be an important conversation anytime, Leah and Monica, but it's up for us right now. COVID is a launch pad. It's a catalyst for bringing these technologies into our lives at an accelerated pace. So what I'm talking about, it's not like we can put that on the back burner and say, you know, it's going to take, 10 years for this to happen. It's not. It's happening now. Some societies are accepting the technologies faster than others. And all of this comes back to this way of thinking. And I've talked to advocates of this way of thinking. And what they say is this: because the human body, humanness is flawed, think how much better our lives and our world would be if we can replace the uncertainty of neurons and cells and bones and blood with the certainty of computer chips and components. What if we can replace the messiness of intimate human relationships where people disagree and they fight? They say that's a distraction. It keeps us from advancing in the sciences and in these technological ways. Well, they say, what if we can engineer our births? Because we now have the ability to go into the womb of a living woman after conception and engineer the DNA to select the traits. Fast twitch muscles for athletic performance or slow twitch muscles. different parts of the brain stimulated to increase IQ, or changing hair color or eye color or skin color. They say, why take the chance on birth defects? Why take the chance on the health problems when we can engineer this? Think of what a great world this would be. So the question becomes very clearly, who decides what the desirable traits are? Who decides what's good? I mean, we have like some panel sitting around the table somewhere saying, you know, I vote for this color skin and this color hair. And diversity is our strength, and we stand to lose that diversity. So this is up for us all right now. And actually in some Asian societies where, and partially due to COVID, but even before COVID was happening, intimate human relationships, and I'm talking about sexual human relationships, were being replaced through software apps and remote controlled devices to satisfy the sexual urge without the intimacy and the messiness of human interaction. And what's happening in those societies is the birth rate is dropping, sperm counts are dropping, fertility rate in women is decreasing. More people are dying than are being born. I'm sorry, more people are dying. The birth rate has dropped so low that people they are losing their population. And it's not 100% because of the technology, but the technology is playing a role. And it's like a canary in the coal mine saying, this is a heads up. We need to really check this out. Now, what I'm talking about may sound esoteric, but Elon Musk just brought this front and center recently when he did a very compelling interview. And I'm not an anti-Elon Musk fan at all. He's young, he's visionary, he's wealthy, he's pushing the boundaries of everything we believe about technology until something pushes back. And this is what he said. He said for the first time, he is concerned about where the technology is leading in general, specifically artificial intelligence. He said he is afraid. He looked at the camera and he said, I'm afraid of where this is going. He said, as a CEO, I have to empower my people to push forward as fast as they can to keep the market share and to stay ahead of my competitors. But he said, I'm pleading not just my company, this entire industry, we need to reel it in. We need to pull it back. We need to regulate it because he says, I'm afraid of where the artificial intelligence is headed, and it's going to happen fast. And that was a heads up for a lot of people who've never heard Elon Musk say anything like that before, because they didn't know this is happening. They said, what is he talking about? What's going on that is happening so quickly? So I think this is really important, and I'm just going to I'm not sure how I did on time because I lost track of my timer, but where this comes down, Lee and Monica, you know, we're talking about broad brushstrokes, and this sounds like big stuff, and people say, man, what could I possibly do about that? And here's where I'm coming from with this whole conversation. All of this boils down to human values. There's a new world that's emerging post-COVID. It's not quite here yet. We're creating that world now, and I can't possibly know, nobody can, precisely what that world's going to look like. Technology is definitely going to play a big role. We can't predict with absolute certainty what's going to happen, but here's what we can do with absolute certainty. We can choose the human values that we cherish. As individuals, as families, as communities, as societies, as nations, as a species. We can choose those values and make them very clearly the foundation, make them the foundation of every choice moving forward, every law that's enacted, every policy that's embraced. Make them the yardstick by which we gauge our elected officials. Will they support these? The corporations that we support through our purchases and our money, where do these people and entities stack up when it comes to these fundamental human values? And they can be as simple as life itself, or freedom, or creativity and imagination, or community. And there's so many more. But it's these values that become the foundation of everything that we do. And it's these values that make it a priority for all of the good news that I began with to be embraced in our world. Because when these values become front and center, then those good news solutions, they become the go-to solutions. It makes perfect sense to go to those because those solutions match the values that we've embraced. Whereas now, it's like we're playing whack-a-mole. You know, we've got these old values and we're doing these one-offs. We're trying to impose one solution here for climate change, another solution there for the economy, and people push back because it doesn't make sense. So if we start with the foundation of the values, I think this is the opportunity that's at hand for us right now, and it's something that we all participate in because it begins right in our living room. So I'm going to pause there for a moment. I'm not sure how we did on time, and I'll turn it over to you, Leah and Monica, and see where we go from here.
I think it's a beautiful conversation of everything you've brought up, completely with what you finished with. And for me, part of what I was feeling into the conversation is that our solutions have always been there within the wisdom keepers of the Indigenous. And I mention this because you yourself have spent so much time with the shamans and ancient traditions, and you are completely right that wisdom and that knowledge, the connection they have with the planet, the way they have and retain information is part of the tools and gifts that we are going to need as part of this emerging new world.
Greg, I want to ask you, you did your timing perfectly, just in the minute and a half or so. People are going to say, where can I hear more? Where is Greg speaking? Are there courses? Are there classes? Are there TV programs? Where can they find them?
Well, thank you, Lee and Monica. I'm not doing much many live events right now. We had planned to, and we hope to be able to begin those again. Let me invite you, just go to my website, www.gregbraden, it's Greg with two G's, G-R-E-G-G, Braden, B-R-A-D-E-N.com. You'll see all the books, all the languages the books are published in, any events that we have, either virtual or live. And Leah, Monica, thank you for your care and for allowing me the opportunity to just share what's important for me right now and what I think is important for all of us. And I want to thank you both for the work that you have very ingeniously found a way not only continue, but to excel at doing through forums like this, to keep our community tight, to keep our community informed, to keep our family together through this pivotal change, and this once in a civilizational change is where we are right now, and we look to you for that guidance and support. Lee, I've lost track of how many years. It's probably close to 30 years that you and I have known one another.
Long time.
And I'm in awe of the passion with which, and the dedication and the energy with which you approach doing everything that you're doing right now. So I'm honored to be with you, and thank you both.
Thank you, Greg.
We just love you, Greg, and
yes,
honored and blessed with everything that you shared with us. Yeah.
So, wow, that was a lot. And I just hope so much there are many of you who never heard of Greg Braden until this minute. And if you're one of those, I hope that you're tingling, that somebody is out there talking like this. So, take a 10-minute break. We'll be back with a Circle of 12. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. That was just astonishing. We are still talking about it. He's, I think, the man of our time, as far as I'm concerned. I'm biased. He's a good friend. Thank you, Greg, again.